everyone. This is Dr. Aisha Gautam, and this lecture of mine is on information technology issues and concerns. So let's get started with lecture. So before going on to talk about information technology, let's try to get an insight into the very term technology itself. The term technology comes from the Greek word techne, which means a practical activity based on knowledge of experiences of the past and present, which follows certain rules to get artistic product or to produce tools for useful purpose. It is a human undertaking that has higher aims than mere technique because technology is oriented towards creative transformation of previous reality, be it natural, social, or artificial, using scientific knowledge as well as specific technical knowledge. The product might be a noticeable change of nature, say tunnel, a new kind of social reality, new social order in the country, or a visible artifact like an aircraft or any other artifact which you might think of. Technology includes a variety of components. It has its own language due to its attention to internal constituent of the process, design, effectiveness, efficiency, etc. And the external factors like social, ecological, aesthetical, cultural, political, etc. The structure of technological system is articulated on the basis of its operability because technology should guide the creative activity of human being that transforms nature, social reality, or artificial items. The specific knowledge of the technological undertaking know-how is instrumental and innovative. This kind of knowledge seeks to intervene in an actual realm to dominate it and employ it in order to serve human good and society. So technology, as a matter of fact, when it came into being, it was supposed to serve human beings. It was supposed to play an instrumental role, and it was supposed to be innovative also. Now, the question which one might raise is that, is it really instrumental now also, or is it taking a different role altogether, because of which some ethical concerns are being raised? Over the past half century, technology has profoundly and irreversibly changed the world. We live in a world where reality meets virtuality on the web and off the web, and both exist simultaneously. Globalization has ushered in the information revolution, and it has profoundly changed the context in which moral issues arise. With the information revolution and the evolution of the information database society, many ethical problems have cropped up. It won't be a misnomer to state that technological changes have outspaced ethical developments, bringing about unanticipated problems. One of the prominent challenges for ethicists have been to formulate an information technology ethics that can treat the world of data, information, and knowledge with their relevant life cycles, including creation, elaboration, distribution, communication, storage, protection, usage, and possible destruction as a new environment, the infosphere in which humanity is and will be flourishing. And information technology ethics should be able to address and solve the ethical challenges arising in what is being called as infosphere. In fact, Luciano Floridi, a prominent, philosopher who has been working in the area of technology, artificial intelligence, goes on to talk about 4 revolutions in philosophy, which went on to change the very concept of human beings, it went on to change the concept of self. Now, when we talk about Copernicus revolution, we do know that changed our perception because we were no more the center of the universe. If you talk about, Darwin, with Darwin, again, there was this revolution which came into picture. We were talking about survival of fittest, and it became very obvious that we human beings are not unnaturally detached and diverse from the rest of the animal world. We were one among others. Again, when Freud came into picture, he went on to say, we are not Cartesian rational subject entirely transparent to ourselves, but there's something which remains unconscious. So that's what happened with Freud. Let's see what happened with the advent of information technology, or what happened with information revolution, because of which we are facing so many changes now. As per this information revolution, which happened, after after capitalism came into picture, after, modernity came into, after the advent of more modernity, you would see that human beings are not being seen as disconnected agents, but we are being seen more as informational organisms or infogs. So what is distinct about infogs is that we as infogs are sharing with biological and engineered agents an environment which is basically informational. So earlier we were talking about atmosphere, we were talking about different layers of atmosphere, and we are talking about this layer which is made up of data. In fact, our identity is also getting reduced to nothing but information, but set of data. So what has happened with the advent of information revolution? With the advent of information revolution, database society, there are many ethical problems which have cropped up. In fact, Norbert Wiener, who is the father of cybernetics, he in late 1940s or 1950s, he was the first person to predict and work on problems pertaining to information technology. Then you would see that, Walter Menner went on to talk about computer ethics, and he said that it is a field that studies ethical problems aggravated, transformed, or created by computer technology or information technology. Later, it also became clear that what matters is not specifically technology only, but the data or the information which is getting manipulated by the technology. So now you will see that, equal emphasis is being given on the study of both technology as well as the data or information which is getting manipulated or which is becoming the reality of everyone which you can think of. In 1990s, in fact, several researchers, especially a group in Oxford, started working on information ethics, or what is called as information technology ethics. Now, if you look at, the beginning of sciences, it was assumed that science is value neutral. When we are talking about science, we are talking about attaining objectivity, and there's no room for ethics, there's no room for value. But now, when we know that there's so much which is at stake with the advent of information revolution, with the advent of technology, with the advent of information technology, that, more and more of, scholars are readily saying that technology is like any other, field, like any other concept, is also value-laden. And when we talk about value-ladenness of technology, it is important to talk about the two values which are embedded in technology. So, philosophers go on to talk about two sets of values. One is internal value and another is external value. Internal values are those values that affect the objectives, process, and outcomes of technologies. They are often perceived as internal to technology and its practice, and they include values like technological enthusiasm. Technological enthusiasm would mean something like, anything and everything, if it is to be solved, it is only and only technology which can solve it. So that is what technological enthusiasm is. Then, one also goes on to talk about effectiveness, efficiency, reliability, robustness, and rationality of technology while talking about the internal values concerning technology. External values, on the other hand, are the values that are related to the effect of technology on other practices. They can be either social, cultural, economic, or ecological. Typical example of external values are health, safety, human well-being, sustainability, and justice. Information technology has grown rapidly due to its ability to capture and store a vast amount of personal data on the web and display or auction it for public consumption. Some of the common ethical issues and concerns in information technology are concerning privacy and security, inappropriate sharing of information, digital divide, algorithmic bias, liability and accountability, digital manipulation, and misinformation. We'll look at each one of them as we go along. So let's begin with privacy and security, including lack of formal regulation around anonymization of data. To maintain security and privacy, anonymization of data is very important. The question which becomes important is that information technology, is it enabling this anonymization of data when data is being shared by us, or when data is being shared by the various stakeholders in the case of different technology? Privacy is a fundamental right of individual and is an essential condition for the exercise of self-determination. The ability to control personal information is an important factor in sustaining privacy. With the advent of information technology, digitalization of personal information is taking place at a grand scale. Very often it takes place without the consent or knowledge of the information concerned. There has been a growth in databases holding personal and other sensitive information in multiple formats of text, picture, and sound. The potential to breach people's privacy at less cost and to greater advantage continues to increase. Computer privacy, internet privacy is a new twist on an old ethical problem and involves issues that have not been previously raised or cannot be predicted. When our data are, when there's this breach of, people's privacy, can we say that, our agency is also being taken away? Our agency is also, in danger? Because our agency very often in this era of information technology, where our agency is being defined in terms of our information or in terms of our data, any breach pertaining to information is likely to affect our agency also, and that is what seems to be happening, and that's why people are concerned about privacy. There's also, you'd see that with the advent of information technology, there's also an inappropriate sharing of information, and that is also something which has become a concern. Every organization stores vast amount of information that can be classified as either private or confidential. Private data, for instance, of individual employee may include the salary information, attendance data, health records, and performance ratings. Private data also includes information about customers' credit card, information, telephone number, home address, and so on. Confidential information about a company and its operation may include information about sales and promotion, planned staffing projects, manufacturing process, product formulas, tactical strategic plans, and research development. An information technology user who shares such information with an unauthorized third party violates someone's privacy and places the fortunes of the company into the hand of the competitors. For instance, if an employee accesses a co-worker's payroll record via the human resource computer system and then discusses them with their friend, it would amount to violation of the co-worker's privacy. Sometimes one might ask whether privacy should always be protected. Here it may be said that there may be times when individuals may need to give up some of the privacy. And that would need to be done, especially in the case where overall social benefit is the issue. For instance, suppose there is a question pertaining to national security or there's a question pertaining to health hazard, then perhaps a little amount of privacy can be violated or can be given up. Let's talk about another concern, another ethical concern which is coming to light with the advent of information technology, and that's digital divide. Information and communication technologies offers many advantages: greater access to information, cost reduction in the labor sector, greater connectivity between people, etc. However, digitalization is not happening equally all over the world because imbalance exists, and this is what is known as digital divide. Unequal access to technology and the digital divide raises ethical concerns about equal opportunities and limited access to essential services. Bridging the digital divide and ensuring fair access to technology is crucial for creating an inclusive society. Digital divide was initially attributed to underdevelopment and was perceived as something temporary that would disappear with the popularization of technology. Instead, the divide persists today despite the mass marketing of electronic devices with internet access. The causes can range from the higher prices of the above-mentioned devices to the lack of knowledge about the use or the lack of infrastructure for their access. One can talk about various types of digital divide. One can talk about access divide, use divide, and quality of use gap. So let's talk about each one of them. Access divide refers to the possibilities that people have to access their resources. This is where Socioeconomic differences between people and countries come into play. Since digitalization requires very costly investment in infrastructure for less development regions and rural areas, it's quite possible that it can create a divide because of the inequities which exist in the society. In the context of digital divide, next we have use divide. It refers to the lack of digital skills which impedes the handling of technology. Even if one were to have a technology, if one is not able to use the technology, then that may also create a divide. In this regard, and to give an example, some reports claim that there are 40 countries in which more than half of their inhabitants do not know how to attach a file to an email. This is a classic example of the use divide in the context of information technology. Furthermore, one can also talk about quality of use gap. Sometimes people may have the digital skills to find their way around the internet, but not the knowledge to make good use of or get the most out of it. So making good use of or being able to make most of a particular technology is what is important. If a particular community or particular group of people are not able to do that, then that also creates a gap which leads to inequity regarding access to quality information. Technology discrimination is a form of poverty and social exclusion, depriving some citizens of essential resources for development and wealth generation. And this issue needs to be reflected upon if we want to, change things pertaining to information technology. Another ethical concern, which rarely gets talked about while talking about information technology, is that of algorithmic bias and fairness. Algorithm can be biased and promote harmful stereotypes or exclusionary practices and thereby may perpetuate discrimination and social inequalities. Ensuring fairness, transparency, and accountability in algorithmic decision-making is an ethical imperative. Let's take an example. Suppose a company which is using algorithm for hiring its employees goes on to favor certain demographic groups. Maybe, it goes on to, favor particular genders. What would it lead to? It would definitely lead to discrimination against qualified individuals from underrepresented backgrounds or from some genders which are discriminated. And this may definitely create a problem for when it comes to creating equity. Another problem, another ethical concern which needs to be spoken about while talking about information technology is concerning liability and accountability. Determining liability and responsibility for software or hardware defects in the case of information technology can cause data breach or other negative consequences, and it's an ethical concern. It is crucial to address this issue in a way to hold responsible parties accountable for their action. If there is a negative consequence which gets arose from the use of the information technology, or if there's a data breach, one would want to know who is to be held responsible and who should be punished. If we are not sure who is to be punished, then perhaps cases and instances like these will keep on happening. So accountability and liability becomes an important concern. Apart from liability and accountability, another concern which is very important is digital manipulation and misinformation. The spread of misinformation and digital manipulation raises ethical concerns about the impact on public trust, democratic process, and individual well-being. Addressing these issues involves promoting social media literacy and the responsible use of technology. Spreading false information through social media platforms to manipulate public opinions during elections undermines democratic process and erodes public trust. Ethical responsibility involves promoting accurate information, fact-checking, and educating users about media literacy to combat the harmful effect of misinformation. The broader social impact of technology, such as its effect on communities, the environment, and society at large, also requires ethical reflection. Ensuring that technology contributes positively to society and respects human rights and environmental sustainability is a moral imperative. A technology company, for example, may showcase ethical responsibility by minimizing its carbon footprint, responsibly recycling electronic waste, and actively contributing to environmental conservation efforts. So, if we are to make sure that the technology which we are using are not adversely impacting human civilization, then we need to take care of some of these ethical concerns which I have been talking about. Thank you so much. So for this PowerPoint presentation, I have used some of these materials which I have been given as references. So thank you again.